Before anything else, I would like to ask you a question. Can you imagine life without communication? Can you live for a day without talking or sending messages to your loved ones? I don't think so. Do you know that in almost everything you do, from what you read to what you write and how you act, is a kind of communication? It is no doubt that communication plays a vital role in human life. Communication is a skill of clearly expressing yourself in a way that others can understand. Today, we're going to hear more and discuss about the following components of communication, which is the verbal, non-verbal, and the paraverbal. Its two phases, which includes the transmission phase and feedback phase, and how miscommunication happens.
What is verbal communication?
And what are the examples of verbal communication? Today, we are going to discuss these two important questions.
Verbal communication is the use of words to convey a message.
There are two forms of verbal communication, namely spoken communication and written communication.
Spoken communication is a communication with the use of speech for informal exchange of views, ideas, or information.
Here are the examples.
Written communication involves any type of message that makes use of the written word.
Here are the examples.
Non-verbal communication, the transmission of messages or signals through platforms such as facial expressions, postures, or gestures. Facial expressions. The face is perhaps the most important conveyor of emotional information. Happiness, sadness, fear, we express them through smiling, frowning, or downcast eyes. Posture. The way you walk, sit, stand, move, and hold yourselves gives a lot of information about you. Slouching may mean you are tired. Gestures. We express ourselves through gestures, often without thinking. Clenching your hands could be a signal of nervousness.
Nonverbal cues supplement verbal messages by adding meaning to them, such as patting someone on the back as you apologize to him or her. It is also a great help to handicapped people, especially deaf people. However, since it uses mostly gestures, facial expressions, or signs, without the help of verbal communication, there is a great possibility of distortion of information.
So, the last component of communication is paraverbal. Paraverbal communication is how you say the word you want to say. The emphasis of this component is placed on specific words, phrases, or poses while speaking, as well as the inflection, speed, pitch, and tone of voice. During message delivery, paraverbal communication deals with how the messages are delivered rather than what the message is delivered. In short, it focuses on the way a person delivers his message rather than the content. To fully grasp the concept of paraverbal, here are the following examples.
Wala kang alam sa nararamdaman ko. So don't give comments about my personal life because I don't give comments about yours.
Anak ko siya. Kaya bawat hininga tutot niya, alam ko ibig sabihin.
Hindi lang sa'yo umiikot ang mundo, tita. At tinititigil to kahit na mawala ka pa.
Huwag ka magmagaling. Dahil wala kang alam.
Eh, ikaw! Anong alam mo?
Communication consists of two phases, the transmission phase and the feedback phase.
Transmission phase is the communication phase in which one individual or group sends information to another.
The feedback phase is initiated by the receiver who becomes the new sender. This receiver decides what message to send to the original sender and now the new receiver, encodes it, and transmits it through a medium.
For you to better understand these two phases, we will show you a very short clip. Now, let's talk about the process of communication that is used by these phases.
The sender is an individual, group, or organization who initiates a communication.
Message is a communication containing ideas and concepts, whether in writing, speech, or giving signals by one person to another.
The sender must begin encoding, which means translating information into message in the form of symbols that represent ideas and concepts.
To begin transmitting the message, the sender uses some kind of channel, also called as the medium, which means the use to convey a message. Most channels are either oral, written, but currently, visual channels are becoming more common as technology like smartphones.
After a medium is selected, the message enters the decoding stage. Once it is received and examined, the stimulus is sent to the brain for interpreting. The receiver interprets the symbols, translating it to their own sets of experiences to make it meaningful.
The receiver is the individual or individuals to whom the message is directed.
Noise is anything that harms the communication process.
Miscommunication is simply a failure to get the meaning of the message. It happens easily whether at work, in school, in our relationship, or even in our daily lives due to many reasons. One of those reasons is not truly listening. We put a lot of focus in talking, but not in listening. Although listening is just as significant as talking. Both parties must want to listen with full attention. This is the difference between listening and just merely hearing. You can hear someone talking, but you need to listen in order to understand. Some people are more focused on what to say next instead of focusing on what the other is saying. Being a good listener allows you to be receptive and understanding that can create an effective communication.
Another reason for miscommunication is that we only understand from our own level of perception, which should that be? Don't assume that your perception is the objective truth. You should always put your feet on your shoes in order for you to understand how does it feel to be in their situation and how to respond with it for a better communication.
Miscommunication can also happen in a simple conversation. Many arguments occur around people attempting to outdo each other, listening impatiently so they can speak, or making assertions and arguments just to claim victory in a dispute while willfully disregarding any points made by others. For example, you and your workmate were casually talking or discussing about the flow of your presentation in the upcoming days, and suddenly your workmate becomes egotistical, which leads you to an unhealthy conversation. This can further amplify the chances of miscommunication. In scenarios like this, understanding other people's perspectives and having the power of acceptance can help you. Speakers must also be conscious of the listener's behavioral and emotional characteristics. Accordingly, they should frame their sentences to lessen the chances of miscommunication.
Another miscommunication is not hearing with your eyes, ears, and guts. Real listening is not just hearing. Using our eyes to see if the person understands or to gauge reactions, and by the listener to show attention on what is being said. It is also utilized as a signal for synchronization. Hearing is different from listening. Listening can make you comprehend and analyze what the speaker is speaking, and for your guts to at least have faith in your instincts that might help you to answer.
To sum up everything that has been stated, communication comes with a process. It occurs between two or more people or within yourself and could be expressed in different ways. It does not only facilitates the process of sharing information and ideas, but it also helps to develop relationships with others. Therefore, the importance of communication